Dan Illman, Mike Beer taking a look at race number 11 at Gulfstream Park on Holy Bull Stakes Saturday. This is for 3-year-olds on the turf. It's the Grade 3 Kitten's Joy. We're going a mile and a 16th. $175,000 is the person. Rapoli Stables and Todd Pletcher kind of loaded in here, Mike. They got Agate Road, winner of the Pilgrim as a 2-year-old. They've got Noted, winner of the Pulpit earlier this year. And those two horses, they look very, very strong from a class and speed figure standpoint.
Yeah, exactly. They're pretty hard to separate, Dan. I guess maybe it just come down to trips between the two of them, because it does feel like the 9 Noted has a little bit more tactical speed that he could put into play in this race.
That's a very good point. But the number 4, Agate Road, has a very strong closing kick. So this time form US pace projector could be key. And that red bar fast pace helps a horse like the 4, Agate Road, because A, he certainly didn't get a fast pace last time, and he rallied still to be second. B, he's got that LP flag, which indicates he's got the fastest time form US late pace rating.
Yeah, you could see it in his 2-year-old form, especially, Dan. I mean, he really finished strongly in all of those races, put together a pretty nice campaign, including a Grade 2 win on the turf from way back in the pack to get up.
Number 1 in here is Hammerstein, going out for trainer Brian Lynch. He kind of caught a stacked field in his career debut on dirt at Keeneland, but he found his surface, switching to the grass and stretching out at Gulfstream Park in this maiden special weight. And he made a nice move into contention, and once he sniffs the lead, he's real gritty.
I like this performance from him, Dan. I mean, this is the surface he's bred for, and it really seemed like he appreciated the surface switch in his second start. He always traveled very nicely in this race. He got a good trip. He took over, and he's not letting these horses get to him through the stretch. This was a likable performance. I think there's still plenty of room to improve. He's got a great post on the inside.
The number 2 is Edgartown. This horse comes out of the Dania Beach, won by Tokayo, who's also in this race. That was a very slow-paced race. Edgartown sort of just tracked in the pocket and couldn't quicken at the end. It's too early to give up on him. I think he needs to take a step or two forward, though, against what's probably a better field overall.
Yeah, that's kind of how I looked at him too. I mean, his overall form on the grass, it's not bad. But I just wanted to see maybe a little bit more out of him in the Dania Beach last time. Maybe there's more to it than that, Dan, and there's some kind of an excuse coming out of that. But he sat a really good trip in behind that slow pace, and he just got outkicked at the end.
It was a tale of 2 pace setups for Tokayo. 2 starts back in the Pulpit, he was blazing on the front end, and that nothing left in the stretch when Noted and others came calling. In the Dania Beach, they just dropped the anchor on the lead with Tokayo, and Tokayo had enough at a big price to win. Agate Road, you're going to see rally for second in here, just up against it from a pace standpoint.
Yeah, exactly. And this horse took full advantage of a super soft trip in this race. He's just sprinting home here from the top of the stretch, and these horses have no chance to catch him. And, again, we were just talking about Edgartown is right in behind him on the rally. Just didn't make up any ground at all. Very disappointing. I thought this horse, he just stole that race last time. It's really hard to take him back in this spot now with plenty of other speed signed on.
Exactly and perfectly put, as you saw in the time form US pace projector. Fast and contested pace expected, completely different scenario. This horse might be a price yet again, but I have a feeling last time might have been the time. Agate Road, we saw kick like a mule to win his maiden race at Saratoga. I'm still trying to figure out how he won that race. It looked like he was about 10 down turning into the stretch, and he just kicked it into another gear in the final 3/16. He showed off that ability in the Pilgrim, and I think his last 2 races are better than they look on paper. In the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, last on the rail, turning for home, over and behind horses. He was running a little bit in the end, and we saw the Dania Beach where he was pace compromised.
Yeah, just had no chance last time, and actually ran pretty well in that race to make up ground towards the end. Also, you have to take into consideration that he was, 3 wide around the track. He never got to save any ground. That's an underrated performance. He was good as a 2-year-old. This race should set up a little bit better for him. I think he's going to be really tough in here.
The 5 Deadpan from Mark Cassie, John Velasquez. This horse ran 3rd in a first-level allowance race at Gulfstream Park last month, about 3 weeks ago. Didn't show a lot of speed in this race, Mike. He's going to angle all the way out to the outside, and we're not going to see him till late in the game, but he's running on at the end.
Yeah, we'll see if he can get a better trip this time, because it feels like based off his first 3 starts that he doesn't have to be last when they turn into the stretch as he was in this spot, but he is running at the end of this race. This is not a bad performance for this horse. I think there's a better trip coming, and he could certainly take a step forward here. I thought he was pretty dangerous.
First World War was a debut winner at Kentucky Downs over that undulating 1 mile course. Never easy to do. And then in the Bourbon Stakes, second time out, he was actually bet to favoritism, was kind of caught on a fast pace after breaking from a tough outside post. Close but no cigar on dirt in his last two. I like him getting back onto the turf, Mike, and I like the fact that he can sort of tuck in behind these speeds in the second flight. I think he's a bit of a sleeper for Brendan Walsh coming off an awesome year.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff. I like him getting back to turf here too. And when you go back to that Bourbon, and listen, he was right up. But the winner came from last to win that race, but it's not like it was a total pace collapse. At least I didn't think. And this horse, he had post 12. He could never get over, Dan. He was on the outside the entire way. When you go back and watch the replay, you'll see Noted, who was also in there, just sat on the inside the entire way. He got to save way more ground than this horse did. It might have been a very underrated performance.
Quokka, the number 7, is up next for trainer Tommy Albertrani. Got a nice setup 2 starts back when pulling off an upset in a maiden special weight. It was just a race where they walked 51 and change. He got right up close to the pace. He was gritty to win. Last time out in the Central Park, I'm willing to draw a line to that. To me, it was just kind of a start and stop trip, and he never really could get into a rhythm.
I agree. He didn't have especially early in that race, I thought, Dan. He had some real trouble in some traffic, steadied into the first turn, got spun a little bit wide there. Then he could never really get over. I don't care too much about his last race, but I will say I don't think he ran that poorly in there. And his maiden win was good. I mean, he did get a good trip in that race, but he did a lot of good things in there. He was dead game through the stretch to get the job done.
Freedom Principle is making his turf debut on Saturday. He's run 4 times on the Tapeta surface at Gulfstream. He's run well all 4, but he's put it together in his last 2 with blinkers on, including this victory in the Armed Forces Stakes, where he showed the ability. If the pace is slow, he can be a lot closer than he needs to be, or as shown in the past. And in the stretch, he wears this horse down to win, and he's better at the end. The third place finisher came back to run second in the Pulpit, just missing behind Noted with a 77 buyer. So I think he fits a little bit better with these horses on class than some might think. It's all about whether he handles the turf.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you do have the surface issues to deal with, but maybe he will fall into the right trip here again. And he did look pretty good winning the Armed Forces last time. I mean, it was a race where you wanted to be right up close. It was slower early and faster late. So in a lot of ways, he had all the best of it. I still like the way he looked winning it.
Noted and was entered in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, despite sort of making his bones on turf early as a 2-year-old, and Keeneland in the Bourbon getting beat a nose. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile obviously didn't work out. They returned him in the Pulpit going 7.5 furlongs. This was that fast pace that Tokayo set. Now, Noted tries to squeeze through in between horses here, and that's just not going to work out. Irad's now going to have to re-rally, get to the outside, split horses, and I guess Noted's just better than these.
Exactly, he is, but I think you got to give him a little extra credit for getting the job done here, Dan, because that he got into that little jackpot there in mid-stretch. It could have cost him the win. As it turns out, he was too good for that field. I think this is a tougher race, but I'm not going to be surprised when he's right there at the end. His overall turf form is really strong.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Grade 3 Kitten's Joy at Gulfstream on Saturday. Pletcher for you, Pletcher for me, just a different Pletcher. Your horse has a stronger kick. My horse might have better tactical speed. My horse has a tough outside post.
Yeah, and we'll have to see what kind of prices they are too. I don't know which one of them is going to take the most money, but I don't think neither one of us are getting rich if we're betting these horses. I preferred the 4. I put them on top. I got the 1 in there because I think there's a good trip coming with upside for that horse.
I think it's a very interesting pick there to split the 2 chalks with Hammerstein. 4196 for Mike, 9463 for me, and the Grade 3 Kitten's Joy at Gulfstream. Nice card on Saturday. Good luck.